forever. Then he returned to the throne, back at the castle. A few days later, Gabe brought a message. King, Lucian wants to talk to you. So the king nervously met him outside the wall of the city. Lucian explained that he was homeless. No one had let him stay in their town. So the king let them have a little piece of the new town to stay in. He said, you can't leave this area. If the guy and girl come and talk to you, you can talk to them, but they're the leaders of this new place. And if they don't want to talk to you, you can't make them. Then he warned the guy and girl about Lucian and what he was up to, and after a few weeks passed, the guy and the girl gave each other delicious fruit. But they never had to pick on their own. And they loved each other and the king a lot. Soon, the girl stopped by Lucian's area, ignorantly, but instead of leaving immediately, she stayed for a little while. He offered her some fruit. She should have known that it was not fruit that he had picked out because he loved her, because it was the best fruit. But she took it and decided that King Iam's warning was not the best warning, only a good warning. Then she gave the fruit to Guy, and he changed his mind too. They decided to listen to Lucian, and soon he was allowed to roam the whole town. He said, I must be right if King Iam and his filthy laws, because even this new town, they think that I'm right, so I must be right. Chapter 4. So the town soon became a violent place. Soon Guy and girl had died, and their children were bringing fruit to Lucian and singing songs to him instead of the king, and they would take their little clay babies, and kill them because Lucian had said, I won't love you if you don't prove to me that I'm the best by obeying me. Kill your sons and daughters. And the clay people stopped showing up once a week. Well, most of them stopped showing up once a week to hang out with the King Iam, even though he still showed up. Sometimes he would just cry. Lucian convinced some of them that the king was a myth, and that the ones who were sure that he was real, he told the original lies that he told everyone before. The other towns were watching all of this with their telescopes. And all of them who had thought that maybe Lucian was right changed their mind. A few of the guys and girls didn't buy Lucian's lies, and they started meeting with the king again. The king thought of a way to rescue these few from the evil, violent town they lived in. He would have to go there in the body of a guy and rescue them. Several groups of clay people had conglomerated into bigger bodies to do different things. Some of them built a tower, and all of them were on Lucian's side except one, a tall girl. She was made from hundreds of clay people, and they all liked the king. Sometimes Lucian could sneak one of his guys into the conglomeration, and a cancer would start, infecting an arm or a leg. Sometimes she would even change her mind as a result of these cancers and start looking at Lucian with adulterous eyes. But the king would arrive with his scrubs on. She would surgically remove the cancer, and soon she would recover. Sometimes he had to cut very large amounts of her clay away that had been infected. And once, all that was left after surgery were 8 fingers. 8 individuals who still loved him. But she always grew back because the king would nurture her and provide her with food. Chapter 5. King Iam removed one section of his mind, and with permission pulled some clay from a girl and made himself into a guy with the mind of a king. He walked through the town and corrected the wrong thoughts a lot of guys and girls had about him. And then the king/guy who assumed the name Joshua, who didn't do anything wrong, was captured, and Lucian and his gang and many evil guys and girls killed him. But King Iam was okay with this because it was part of the plan. He knew that soon everyone who were looking through their telescopes would say, "It is time for Lucian and his gang to be erased." And when that happened, Lucian would demand that all the guys and girls be killed too. But the king would say, "Anyone who wants to can use my death. They can claim it as their own." When Lucian figured this out, he decided to try to make sure that no one joined the group who believed the king's words. Joshua was reformed and brought back to life by the rest of the king, but instead of having his brain placed back into his head, he wanted to remain clay Joshua because he loved the guys and girls and always wanted to hang out with them. His brain became the brain of the new girl conglomeration. She began to really love King Iam, and she grew. She grew into a beautiful woman. She started to keep her eyes on him only, and as she matured, Lucian had to try more and more clever ways of starting cancer. Chapter 6. Finally, everyone in the town had decided to join one of two conglomerations. One for Lucian, and one for King Iam. And the king left his castle on a white horse when everybody had joined one of the two. He decided to marry this woman, and he busted through the wall. He put Lucian's woman in anesthesia and scooped up his virgin fiancée in his arms, now dressed in a beautiful white summer dress. And he carried her to his castle through the pearly gates and stood her before his throne. She was really excited. She was crying and singing. Her name was Jerusalem. She said, "I love you so much. Thank you for saving me from that horrible place." The king said, "Let's have a date." So he and Jerusalem ate a feast of fruit that he had picked out just for her. She didn't have to pick her own. Then he said with tears in his voice, "Lucian and his gang and his woman must be exterminated. You and all of my sons and messengers have suffered long enough. But first, I want you, my fiancé, to make sure that everything was carried out with perfect justice. I want you, now that you are out of that nasty place, to see the whole story for yourself. I want you to make sure that everyone who will be killed deserves it." He opened up a library where every guy and girl had their whole life recorded, and for 1,000 years. She had a date with him every week, a date day, and spent the rest of her time reading and judging in the library for herself whether King Iam's judgments had been correct. Many times she found herself mopping her tears up from the pages of the books, because she saw how loving the king had been, only to be rejected because of the lies that Lucian had told. Finally, she had read and judged everyone, and she fell even more deeply in love with her fiancé, King Iam. Chapter 7. The final chapter. "It is time," said King Iam. "It is time to put to rest forever Lucian and his gang and his woman. Oh, my sons and messengers will be so happy to see this all over with. It never had to happen, but now that it has, I never have to worry about it